Okay, I know we've talked about this April 8th thing, but I think it's getting even weirder. Now let's jump in today. Two more things that just took place that is, again, going back to the time frame of this April 8th and how much warning, how much seriousness that is going around it. Again, it kind of blows my mind. Well, today let's jump into it. We talked about the red heifers. We talked about the craziness with the NBC military workers coming in. Now let's talk about two more things. Let's jump into it. Today's video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. We are, of course, inside because we are in Oklahoma. We are spending our weekend at the Okie Homesteading Expo. If you have been here, comment below. We have had a wonderful time and also had a ton of support. Tons of people here, thousands of people here. It's been well attended and some great speakers, some great people teaching great things about how to be sustainable. So comment below if you are here. If you haven't, you need to come next year. A great event. So that's why we're inside today. We're going to discuss a little about April 8th again. I hate to act like we're beating a dead horse. The whole point of this, though, is to kind of say, as weird as it is, and probably nothing will happen. Hopefully nothing will happen. Why are all these warnings coming out? Now, we talked about the Chinese situation with Taiwan. I think that's a huge red flag. And then they're saying in the coming weeks, this could result in escalation. Now, the coming weeks, again, is rolling into April. They keep going back to April, keep going back to April. This is from China. This was early last year. They were stating the best times to look at his invasion in Taiwan is going to be March or April. Well, now they're starting to escalate. We're seeing ships. We're seeing Air Force moving in. Now, that's not the news story. Two new stories. Well, all of a sudden, we see this major attack in Russia. Not from Ukraine. It's from ISIS. And remember, this is the same ISIS that Trump took out of power. So now they're showing a resurgence under Biden. Now, if you remember, a few weeks ago, go back and do your research. The U.S. put out a warning for all Americans to get out of Russia. They never warned Russia, but they said there's a terrorist attack coming. Now, it's also come out now that they knew it. The intelligence department knew it in Washington that this was going to take place. Now, that's a little shady. It's weird that we knew it and didn't warn Russia, even though we're in war. Just the fact that ISIS is back around, you'd think that we would warn that. It's amazing how we always go back to that cliche statement. The enemy of our enemies is our friends. That's a terrible quote, by the way. It makes no sense, and I think it's how the political game is played and how war started. But anyways, I digress. The thing is, that's taken place. Now, Medvedev, the one that's kind of the firecracker behind Putin, has said, if we find out that Ukraine was behind this, and they kind of took it into their own hands to basically do a terrorist attack. This is not a form of war, is what they're saying. If they find out who did this and Ukraine was involved, here we are, America, we know about this, which is kind of strange. They're saying there will be penance. There will be crap to pay for. We will come back and we will have vengeance. Now, when you hear those kind of words, again, coming at the start of April, that's a big deal. So we're seeing a massive escalation. Houthi also signed a deal that is effective right now going through April. So Houthi will sign an agreement to show that, hey, support us, Russia and China, and we will not bomb your ships. We will allow you through the Strait. We will allow you through the Red Sea. We'll allow you to make things happen for you and your shipping, but only you two. That's a lot of weird things. So that's number one. The fact that the escalation of the wars, especially hitting towards Taiwan, this major terrorist attack that America knew about, that's all taking place at the end of March, rolling into April. Now, that's a few things that you can say, oh, well, that's not actually April 8th. You're right. But guess what? We talked about the NBC. We talked about the National Guard. We talked about all that happening and going to these places. Now the FAA issues a warning for air traffic controllers and disruptions during the total solar eclipse. So are you wanting to be in a plane on April 8th, especially going into the path of totality? FAA is basically saying, hey, there could be some disruptions. Now, we've all seen those movies, those dystopian movies where like planes are falling out of the sky. That's strange. But when the FAA comes out and warns, now I don't know how, if eclipses are a big deal. I'm not a scientist, but why are we making such a big deal? Are we putting a false flag out there, or is this something serious? Now, typically I would say, well, it's just another psyop, another false flag. But 2 to 3 weeks ago, U.S. intelligence warned of an attack in Russia. They didn't say who by, they just said, be prepared, Americans stay, away. They even told their embassies, stay away, this could be bad. And all of a sudden, it happens. So do we trust what we're hearing, or do we believe that it's just the boy that cried wolf? I think we always have to prepare for these things because we don't know if it's the boy who's crying wolf or something bad actually happens, kind of like the attack that just happened in Russia. And really, it's not dealing with war, it's dealing with a terrorist attack, a totally different element of something we hadn't seen, however, our intelligence knew about it. So the FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Administration, issued a warning for Thursday about the possible disruptions about travel during the solar eclipse. The celestial event set to cast across the totality of across 13 states is anticipated to impact air travel operations during, even before, and even after the eclipse. In a statement, the FAA suggested that aircraft should be ready and make sure they ready themselves for potential airborne holding or reroutes or departure clearances that may result in domestic IFR arrivals and departures during the eclipse. There could be some problems. Departing aircraft from airports along with eclipse paths are strongly encouraged to coordinate their departure times early as possible and not to get into the congestion of solar eclipse on April 8th. They're calling this the Great North American Eclipse. So what are we actually going to see on April 8th? Now, we've talked about this. There's tons of videos on it, so there's a lot of people talking about it. The thing is, you don't know. None of us know if there's anything major happening. But there's signs of things happening in Israel. There's signs of things happening with China and Taiwan. There's things happening, of course, with Russia now, not even with Ukraine, and not even in Moscow with Ukraine and the war, but dealing with ISIS, something we were supposed to get rid of. Now, the scary thing is, if our intelligence comes out and said that we actually knew about this, truly knew about this, even though we warned it, but also we really knew about it, and then we played a hand in it, the enemy of our enemies is our friend. If that comes out, I believe we're going to see a major escalation in this war. And I believe you're going to see Medvedev really push Putin to be aggressive. And I don't think it's not really against us as Americans. It may be cyber against us Americans. But I think Ukraine, you better watch out. I can't see a Middle Eastern terrorist group like ISIS actually do this. To actually do this, especially when the Houthi just made a deal, which is another Islamic terrorist group, and also that they have good relations with a lot of ISIS-backed Middle Eastern countries. So there's a lot to the story, and all of this is going down literally days and weeks right before April 8th. Any big deals? Maybe not. Maybe all be coincidences. But one thing I've learned is coincidences a lot of times are not coincidences at all. Let me know your thoughts. Also, if you are at the Okie Homesteading Expo, come by and see us. I love sharing our time with you, and I think we've had a phenomenal weekend. Can't wait to spend more time with you. If you haven't been to the Okie, come by. Thank you guys for watching. God bless. Happy homesteading, y'all.